Good morning from beautiful Austin, Texas. I'm here with Patrick Vellner. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad. How are you feeling today? How's the body holding up after that competition?
Everything's pretty good. I would say today I sat up out of bed and my abs really hurt. So
Really?
I was feeling those GHDs today, but other than that, I'm not doing too bad.
Yeah. What'd you think of Rogue overall? Like just everything from the presentation to the programming to just even the final results.
I thought the event was really good. I actually really liked a couple things. Like I liked the way the strongman competition was embedded in our competition as well. I think it was fun to have the audiences of both kind of mixed in and for us to be able to see some of that stuff. And in our locker rooms, we were able to spend time with the strongmen. Like we shared a locker room and chat with those guys, get to know them, get to learn a little more about their sport.
Yeah.
Because they're phenomenal. Like it is unbelievable to watch those guys and what they can do. So that was really fun. And I really liked the use of the baseball diamond. I thought that it was sort of, as a proof of concept, it worked out really well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of baseball diamonds around, so we might see more venues being able to use that. Like that sort of a minor league stadium worked really well as a venue.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I heard a lot of good things from fans saying that it seemed like there was more, I guess, angles or more different ways to see the action as opposed to games where it's just like in a dome area, and they really enjoyed it. I don't know from an athlete aspect if you kind of felt a difference in the crowd.
I would say the biggest difference is you do feel farther away.
Yeah.
So some competition floors, when you finish, people are right on top of you. You're right against the wall almost, but. There you had lots of space, so people could kind of like, some events you want that space and just lay there and be miserable for a little bit, but sometimes it's fun to be close to the fans. So I don't know if that's like a good or bad thing. It just is what it is.
Yeah, it's different.
But that's a little bit of a difference. Is sometimes, especially I think things like the weightlifting events, like the 1 rep max kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You maybe feel that energy a little bit differently in a stadium where people are a little farther away.
Yeah, definitely.
But I agree. I think that the way that the seating is graded up, there's a lot of, you can see everything from higher up in a baseball stadium than we do in something like a tennis stadium sometimes, right? So
yeah, definitely.
I thought it was great.
How about the programming?
Programming was good. I mean, look, everybody always said, well, change something here or there, right, if they could. But overall, I think it was pretty good. Rogue's got like, I feel like they've got like a history of programming some pretty wacky stuff, like just things that we wouldn't do anywhere else, right? So that's what I love about going to those competitions. You do stuff like the Go Ruck event, and they're awesome. Like that sort of thing. When are you gonna get that? When are you gonna be able to use like a man-made hill in the stadium like that? That stuff is just so fun.
Yeah.
So those type of programming events, I love that stuff. And then you get a little bit of our more traditional inside the box CrossFit stuff, like the Mule and even just the Bella Complex and stuff like that, which they were great and they worked out super well. I mean, like I won the Mule, but that's a workout I could do at my gym, right? So I'm less wowed by sometimes ones like that. But the whole thing was super fun. I love that they mix in strongman implements and stuff, and it worked well. It's tough. I think that sometimes we get greedy with how much we want, like every time domain, everything.
Yeah.
And with 7 events, you can't do everything, right? So I think that they did about as good a job as they could. We had some short, hot ones. We had some, 10 to 15 minute-ish ones. So we got our work done.
Yeah, when you saw the Mule was programmed, how excited were you? I mean, that was an event you won in 2019, and
I got asked a lot about that, and it was funny. I don't love that. I feel like, for one thing, I don't like redoing workouts.
Okay.
When you just know what it feels like, you're like, okay,
you don't want to go back to it.
I don't know if I want to feel that again. And it also, I mean, when you won it the last time, there's nowhere to go but down, right? So
True.
I'm like, I either break even on this one or I lose based on, my own expectations even. But of course, as obviously I won it before, I won it again. It's a good workout for me, but the pressure's a little different on it. It's one of those ones that I could do at home, right? So that's one where I'm like, I didn't feel like we used the stadium, and those ones are ones that, like, when you're going to the Rogue Invitational, that's the really, really fun stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, it's always fun to win an event. And I mean, Annie and I won it the first time, and we won it again the second time.
Exactly.
So it was sort of like, I think everybody got what they expected on that one, but
those are easy ones to pick in terms of favorites.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody went really fast though. I feel like we saw the times from the first heat go, and I mean, I think the top 3 or 4 times from the first heat were all faster than my time in 2019.
Yeah.
So,
well, there wasn't mud to deal with this year.
It was a little different. I think the transitions were a little closer, and then we were facing a different direction.
Yeah.
There was less like turning around. So, but I don't know. You know, whenever I see a heavy deadlift for volume, it bodes well for me.
Yeah.
But
it was very similar to games. You know, it was all weekend. You and Justin were going back and forth, and describe that. Like, Matt obviously retired, and you and him had a rapport. But now, Justin's there. It seems like you two get along really well as well. But now you have the competition aspect of it, where you each are looking over each other's shoulders. I mean, how's that dynamic with Justin?
It's fun. I get along with almost everybody there too. So I think that when you're competing with somebody like that, we spend a lot of time together because we're in the lane next to each other. We're in the corrals next to each other. We're warming up at the same time. So you just get to know, like, him and his coach, and they're great. And he competes very much the same way that I do. Yeah. So we do look around a lot, and when he's got a points lead, all he has to do is stay right next to me, right? And so he does a very good job of that. And he, frankly, executed a pretty flawless weekend. Yeah. And I was almost the same, other than the last event. I had a little hiccup in that last one. I had like the most costly missed rep of the fucking weekend. But he did everything right, and he won the competition. So it's super impressive and fun to see. And those duels are fun. Like, it's fun to have tight races back and forth. Like, we're finishing within one place of each other in most events. And it's cool. I mean, of course it's frustrating when you're the one trailing. Yeah. And you just wish, like, I know there was a few events where I beat him by, 10 seconds, and nobody finished in between us. Yes. And then I'd finish like 2 seconds behind him, and we'd get middled by somebody. And it was like, I felt like I was just on the receiving end all weekend. But it's super exciting for the sport too, I think, right? And it's an interesting rapport between us because I'm almost 10 years older than Justin, right? Yeah. And so it's fun. We get along great. I'm probably closer to his coach's age than his age, but it's cool. I mean, and generally speaking, the field's getting younger and younger, right? I mean, relative to me. So I had a lot of fun with a lot of those young guys this weekend. Everybody was keen to know when I'm going to retire.
Well, hopefully not anytime soon. One of those athletes you talked about was Ghee. Ghee, I remember talking to Ghee after the games, and he said that he kept on talking about how you were very, you mentored him, I guess, kind of took him under your wing in terms of like everything, in terms of, hey, you need to put these shoes on to watching you in terms of how you rest and how you prepare for your next event. I mean, how was that interaction, seeing him again for the first time from the games?
I mean, he was great this weekend again. I think that's cool to hear. I mean, I wouldn't say that I was intentionally mentoring him much. I know the one longest day we had at the games there, we were just set up next to each other with our stuff, and we kind of warmed up next to each other and got chatting. But I think obviously when you're a good athlete, you pay attention. So just watching what other people are doing who have a lot of experience, there is a lot to learn. That's what I did when I was started, and I had the good fortune to be in the same region as Matt, and able to kind of see that all along the way, and learn from the best athletes in the sport how to do the thing. And I mean, it's showing. His experience every time he hits the competition floor, he's coming with a little more experience and a little more knowledge. And he's working with Mayhem now, and he's probably getting all the mentorship he needs. He doesn't need it from me, but it's fun to see. He's exciting. He's explosive, and I'm sure he's going to get better at the things that he needs to work on. So that's nice to hear. Like I said, I tend to get along with everybody. I try to be nice to everyone. I think when I first came on the scene, you remember the people who were very welcoming to you. Sure. And that's what people love about CrossFit, right? Is that sense of community still exists in the elite levels of the sport. Yeah. And like I said, the young guys Ghee is one of them who was saying, hey, maybe you retire soon here. But everybody has kind of said, it won't be the same when you go, but we'd like you to leave all the same.
It's funny, people were saying that to Matt as well.
Yeah, exactly, right? So obviously I must be doing something right.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. You and Matt, your relationship with Matt, it's widely known that you guys have it's fun out there. How different has it been not having him around anymore? I mean, he's around, but not like you said, like Justin is in the lane next to you or behind the scenes. Someone you can joke with.
Yeah, I mean, I still will. You find those people who are the same, right? So I still joke around with whoever's back there who'll have it, and I try not to do it to people who. Everybody has a different style of competition, right?
Sure.
Like part of it for me is that it helps me stay relaxed.
Gotcha.
So you find the people who think that same way, and then you're helping each other out. I don't want to go get in someone else's way of their process. So if I know certain people need quiet space, need quiet time, I try not to go bug them, like it just as a professional courtesy. So
that's smart.
It's different people. It's sort of the same process, and you find the same like-minded people that behave like you do. But it's fun having him around because he's still heavily involved in the sport, right? He's working with Justin through Podium, and he's working with Hopper through Hard Work Pays Off, and he's just he's going to be embedded in the sport for a long time. So it's fun. I mean, I'll get a message from him here and there between events, or you see him at the end of the day, and he'll give you a ribbing over whatever went on. So it's really a lot of the same. He's just not exactly in the locker room every time, but you still get it from him.
The famous Fraser ribbings.
Oh yeah,
they're infamous. Talk about the season. I mean, obviously the Rogue Invitational is pretty much the last thing you're doing this year in terms of maybe competition, obviously. But talk about, I mean, it's been a very interesting year for you, 2021 has. I mean, you had the birth of your child, the games, I mean, the whole still dealing with the COVID protocols, not doing a live competition until you actually got to the games. And then getting married after the games, and then this. It's been a very interesting year for you. I mean,
we pack it in.
Yeah, you really did. It's like, all right, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to see what 2022 brings out. I don't know if there's anything else you can do.
Hopefully it's a little less turbulent. But yeah, I mean, it's been a busy year. I think somebody reminded me just before Rogue that this was like only the second live competition I've done in the last kind of 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that's right, I forgot. It's funny how quickly you forget post games, but it's been very busy. I mean, we started our family, we got married, we've been working, both of us. Michelle's on mat leave now, but it's been very busy, and I hope that we have a return to some more routine, because I'm a sucker for routine. I think it makes things easier, it makes things habitual, and I would say we've been flailing a little more than I would like for the last particularly the last 6 months. So I think some return to normalcy will be nice. I'm excited to just sort of get back to, I'm going to chill for a little bit here and then get back to kind of some baseline training again. Not exactly training for competition. And I'm going to show up to Wodapalooza in January. And try to, I've won that the last couple of years, so try to go back and defend the crown there. But other than that, I don't have much planned, and I'm just kind of looking forward to things being a little more relaxed and a little more routine. We've got a few, while Michelle's on mat leave, we've got a few little trips planned. We've stuck around here. I think after Wodapalooza, we're going to stick around a little bit and go tour the islands a little.
Nice.
Just kind of relax a little bit. I think we've very much always been people who pack a lot in, and I've been a very fly in fly out competitor. I go back to work, I went back to school Monday after competitions, and so we're trying to, now with the baby, travel's a little more difficult, so we're trying to enjoy it when we're out and spend a little more time and just slow it down a little. So it'll be good. I'm excited. I think the new season schedule just got announced, so I'm kind of wrapping my head around what that's going to look like. Try to slowly make some plans about what the semifinals might look like or where I might have to go. But I think for now we're going to shut it down. I'll pick it up a bit again over the holidays to be ready for Wodapalooza and not embarrass myself. And then I think after that I'll probably take it pretty low key during the Open and the quarterfinals and just sort of scrape by.
Well, let's talk about the new schedule and the new format. It's very similar to last year, which is good, especially in terms of planning, and you kind of plan around that, and plan not only just your programming but your life around those events. But how do you? I mean, you have with the new schedule and the new format. do you try to peak before semifinals, or you try to peak after semifinals, or do you have multiple peaks? Or
I think you kind of have to look at it as multiple peaks.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say that you could show up to semifinals too relaxed.
Yes.
And you do not want to get caught with your pants down doing that, because your season's done, right? Like the reality of it is that everybody's very good. The margins are not very big.
Yeah.
So no matter who you are, if you show up unprepared at a competition like in the semifinals at a qualifier, you're going to disappear.
Yeah.
You're not going to get to see the finish line. So I think you have to plan to be maybe not the ultimate version of yourself at that point, but a very good version of yourself. Whereas the Open and the quarterfinals, just with the numbers that get through, I think some of the elite level competitors can kind of not coast it through, but take it maybe a little bit less seriously, not stress about redoing workouts, doing things like that. So the stress level in that early stage has gone down. I think that with this last season was kind of the pilot test for that setup, right? And I think that's what everybody learned really quickly is like, okay, to get past the Open is quite easy for most competitors because they're taking thousands through.
Yep.
And then the quarterfinals, we lost some good competitors in quarterfinals because of, there's not that many tests and one bonk can really knock you out, particularly when there's like a lot of specialists or things like that. So, you can't lean back too far, but those ones you can, if you're good enough, some of the Tias and those people in the world, you can kind of lean back through quarterfinals and the Open, and then focus your efforts more on what semifinals will look like. And to me, that's more fun because that's training for live competition. I've always kind of felt like online competitions lack something that doesn't reflect in a live competition. So the quarterfinals and the Open are online, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's a good filter system, but I do think that preparing for that is something different than preparing for a live competition.
Oh, yeah.
So you can kind of focus your energies there.
Yeah, definitely. And you obviously didn't get that opportunity until the games because you had to do the online qualifier for the Atlas games. But but it seems like you have the best. You're good at both. So
yeah, fortunately, I used to really consider myself as someone who was much better in live competition, and I think over the years I've gotten a little bit better at the online thing. I'm doing the Rogue last year online. It went really well. So I think sometimes it just depends on the style of programming a little bit. But yeah, I can do both, which is nice to know. Yeah. In a pinch, I can get it done.
Yeah. One of the trends this past year was the whole training camp. A lot of athletes go into training camps, and you are involved in a training camp, but you're not directly you don't have a location where you'll meet up and you do most of your training at home alone. But we're discussing this before. When you look at the podium, even for Rogue, it's like these are people that train individually. Why do you think the podium athletes are the ones kind of separating themselves from this new trend?
There's a lot of ways you could run with that.
Yeah.
And I think it's speculation because really the long-term training camp situation hasn't existed for very long.
Sure.
I think really we've seen that develop in kind of the last year, maybe a little more. So there's really not a lot of data points because we haven't had that many live competitions, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%.
Yes, so far all of the data points that it hasn't worked as well as maybe they'd hope. And I've long thought, I've done training camps for shorter periods with other athletes or even within Decacomp. I used to go for kind of a month before the games and we'd do a camp, and it's great. It's really good training. It's more fun. But it's hard on you. And I think because everybody's competitive, particularly when you're competing with other people who are within your division. Yeah. So if I have other male games athletes that I'm daily competing with, and you're taking L's every day, that matters.
It does. It works.
And it makes everybody, no matter what, you don't want to lose to those people. So I find it takes an extremely mature athlete and coach to make sure that everyone's effort level stays where it's supposed to be. Because otherwise, if certain pieces are not meant to be done at 100% intensity, sometimes you're building volume, sometimes you're building aerobic base. and it's just, if you're supposed to be doing something at like a 6 out of 10 effort, and then your neighbor there starts going at a 7, and then you start going at an 8, and all of a sudden you've trashed your nervous system, and then you go to do your actual high intensity training, and you don't have a gear for it or whatever. It can really bonk your training out, and it can just make people burn out. Like, I think that's the highest risk for me, is that you're effectively competing every single day. And you aren't training anymore. And so if I had to compete like at the Rogue Invitational every day, if I was standing next to Justin and BK and Adler, and every day, it'd be a lot of fun. We'd chat and have fun. But like when you're doing workouts, like you're trying to beat the other guys, because that's your job. And over the course of 3 weeks, a month, 3 months, like what does that do to you? I don't know, and I've kind of always felt like there's a high risk of burnout involved with that. So I've avoided it for long periods. Short periods, great. Sometimes you need a refresher. It's fun to train with people you know and like, and have the same values and goals as you. Like that makes a huge difference for sure. So I think the lifestyle is very appealing, but I've always been worried about the risk of burnout and the how it would alter your training effect, that you maybe would miss the stimulus you're chasing because you just get caught up in what's going on. So I mean, we've seen the athletes in this past year that have been very successful typically train on their own. Maybe to a certain degree you need to be able to do it on your own. If you need 5 people there to help motivate you, then you're in the wrong career.
Fair enough.
So I don't know. There's a lot of things you could think about or ways you could analyze it, but I do think it might be still a little bit of a wait and see thing. Maybe there's going to be in 2 years' time when they've fixed all the little things and it's been tweaked to a point where it's effective now. And then all the training camps are just going to roll over everybody. But for now, I think it's still just imperfect and it's young. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think I will be moving anywhere to go train. I've also it's never really been an option for me because of the other things in my life that I've chosen to do. And, I have a job where I live. My wife has a great job where we live. Like, we have a kid now. It's not as simple as just sort of like packing up my car and moving to Montreal, right? So, I think it's a difference that way, and I think some people just have a little bit of a different vision, and I think it's also deeply personal, like whatever works for you, right? So there's not a one-size-fits-all for any of this stuff, so people just need to figure out, try it. If it doesn't work for you and you feel like you're going to explode, then try something else.
You mentioned a bunch of, especially younger athletes, asking you, hey, retire already. I mean, is that on? I mean, is that something that's closer, or is that something you started thinking about, especially with all the changes in your life the past year? I mean, obviously, just looking at that next chapter of your life, whether it be still competing or doing something involved in the sport afterwards. Or have you thought about that?
Yeah, of course. I joke with people that every year, when the season's starting around, I wonder what I'm doing. And I'll say I'm probably closer to retirement than I am to the start of my career. But
that's simple math right there.
I was telling everybody this weekend they're making it awfully hard for me to retire. It's as long as they keep letting me win, I don't think I'm going to retire. So I said, hey, you guys got to figure it out if you want me to get out of here. But it's funny. I think everybody kind of says that tongue in cheek. Like I said, I get along with most people back there, so. They always like to, I give people shit and they give me shit. So it's funny that everybody was kind of, by the end of day 2 and on day 3, people were like, look, you've had a good run.
Exactly. It's like, this guy won't go away.
So anyway, I think it's fun. It's cool. And I love that, at 31, I'm still able to compete and be at the top of the pile, right? So it's fun. These events are fun. It's a blast to be able to come out to stuff like this and spend a week, and especially now be able to bring my family. Like I said, the start of my career, I was in school and I was flying in the day before competitions and flying out the night of competitions. I had a couple in my career where I couldn't even stay for the podium because I had to be back home. And it's just now I'm I get to enjoy it. So I'm not in a hurry. I'm trying to enjoy it for a few more years and see. But we'll see what happens as our personal lives develop and things change in our world too. Things will happen, and at some point, there's a shelf life, and that going in, it doesn't last forever. So we're trying to squeeze everything out of it that we can for now.
Do you see yourself I don't know, teaming up with someone, maybe doing like a competition as a team just for fun, just to, like almost like an exhibition type, like Wadapalooza, the team of threes. There's quite a few athletes that already, instead of going individual, they express their desire to do team of three just to have fun. And plus, it doesn't really affect their training too much going into the open.
That's a great division for that. I think they didn't have it last time they ran the competition, and they brought it back.
Yep.
And it's great for exactly that. People come because for us, it's a business too, right? Like you have sponsors that you're responsible for, and for some people, competition comes at a very high cost. Not for some people, for everyone. Competition is at a high cost. The time and energy required to prepare and perform well is, it's a lot. It's immense. So for those type of competitions, you get to spend less time. You still create visibility for your partners. And it's a pretty good strategy to just keep everybody happy, right? You get to go have some fun. You don't take it too seriously. Everybody gets the visibility they want. You hang with your friends. It's a good time. So those sorts of things. There's opportunity to do that. And I think that likely that's what'll happen over time is. I might not be able to do 5 big competitions a year, right? And be like, oh, maybe we trim it down a little bit, and you cut back an individual 1 or 2, and then you add in some stuff like that. That's a little just lower load on your body, lower load mentally. Like you can kind of take a little bit of a break, still be on the scene, still have some fun, participate, and be embedded in the community, right? So I'm sure over time, if those opportunities still exist, that's definitely a way to do it. I'll have to figure out who's team for me though. I don't know.
Maybe you can grab Matt.
Who can tolerate for that long? We'll see. After his bodybuilding phase, we'll see what he gets into.
Maybe he'll probably be on to the next phase of his life too.
I'm sure.
Else. Maybe
he's gonna go all in on something else.
MMA,
I think it's just
probably
the way he works.
Any new sponsorships, or you talk about your sponsors? Obviously, Reebok is your main one, and they've been great to you. And is there any other opportunities or sponsorships you see on the horizon for you, or are you kind of cutting back on that because obviously sponsorships and partnerships mean more time away from the family?
It has been interesting in the last couple of years because we haven't been able to travel as freely to go take part in photo shoots, video stuff, like partnership sponsor obligations. So you've had to be a little more creative with the way you service those relationships. But right now, it's kind of this is a fun time of year. Like the game's wrapped up. We have a good game season. You have another really good showing at a high level competition. Like it's good for your value, right? It's good for your partners. So there's some opportunities that are coming around that we're looking at, but we have to figure out kind of exactly that. Like, where's the balance? Like, how much is too much? You don't want to fill your dance card up too full and not have time for anything else. Because, you also want to make sure you have all the time you need to train and continue the trajectory that you're on. And B, I also have another job, so I have to make sure that I can't always be gone. I can't always be doing other things. So there's a little bit of balance there. But like I said, we're kind of. I think that I'm settling down a little bit in the space where I'm just like, I want to enjoy it a little more, and so some opportunities that come with, maybe cool travel opportunities or things like that, we're a little more keen on, and we have a lot of conversations, my wife and I, about that stuff now to make sure that we're all okay and we're all on the same page, and if we agree to do this or that, what does that mean for whatever this next year or 2 years looks like, and because it's a team effort, so we got to make sure it works for everybody.
So no future sponsorship with Bag Milk, or
I wish. Bag Milk is there's a bunch of different companies, right? Every company makes Bag Milk, but I should find a way to get some down here for you guys at some point. You got to experience it.
It sounds like an experience.
It's a whole culture.
Oh God. Well, Pat, thanks for spending the time with us this morning, and we'll see you down in Florida.
All right. Yeah, you bet.